Hi there. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a very quick introduction into some of the drawing materials that we're going to be using on the course. It's by no means an exhaustive list. We will be using other things, but these are the most common and most important and most frequently used staple drawing materials. So a lot, you'll most likely be familiar with most of them anyway, but I thought it'd be useful just to kind of, as a starter for 10, just kind of give my own brief introduction. I hope you can see this setup. It's not ideal, but bear with me, I'll do my best to kind of explain as I go. Okay, so first off, we've got some charcoal here, different types of charcoal, two different types. We've got compressed this is a stick of compressed charcoal, so it's really just been manufactured, so it's, as it would suggest, compressed under a massive amount of pressure to make it very compact. So it comes in a nice sort of stick like this, and you can very quickly, build up quite dense areas of tone with it. So it's quite nice to use. And obviously you can also use the side of it to get different effects. So that's our compressed charcoal, and then next door to it we've got its counterpart, which is something that you might have well used in school. It's called willow charcoal. Again, it's been manufactured slightly differently. So it's a wood product that's kind of burnt in a special kind of oven style. There's a special name for it, but I can't think of it right at the moment. But again, lovely to use, nice smooth line work that you can create. Tends to come in different thicknesses, as you can see. Okay, so we've got slightly thinner. Don't know if you can see that. Lovely to work with, nice and smooth, and thinner again, so you can get very fine detailed line work going with the willow charcoal, as opposed to the compressed charcoal, where you'd get more if you were working with dense areas of tone. So that would be really useful for that. Okay, then beneath there we've got a range of graphite sticks. Actually, I should also, at this point, I'm forgetting to tell you about this product, which is again very, very nice to use. It's actually charcoal powder, so it's just ordinary charcoal milled to a very, very fine powder, and that can be used to create nice smooth areas of mid-tone, which is really, really useful for tonal drawing. And you would apply that with a nice soft brush, as I've done there. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, so onto the graphite. Again, another really important staple with drawing. You may be familiar with the fact that most pencils and graphite sticks, they'll either come in a 2B or a HB or a 6B. B really just relates to the word black. It just means black, and the higher the number, the softer the graphite. So it just means that you'll get a more dense area of tone when you use it. So I've got a range here from HB through to 8B. H meaning hard black. Okay, I don't know if you can see on the film, but I'm just going to do a couple of lines down there just to show. So you'll get a fairly sort of decent visible line, but it'll be, and you can feel it as you work with this, that it is harder than 2B, which is the next grade up. So I don't know if you can see that that's slightly darker. And then we're going up to, oh sorry, that was the B. So we've got HB, B. The next grade up is 2B. And again, that's a little bit darker. And then we've got 4B, darker still. And so on, 6B, darker still, darker and thicker because it's a softer grade, and 8B, which is very dark. And again, you know, as with the compressed charcoal, you can actually use the side of the graphite to kind of block in areas, so you can get a range of different effects with each grade there. So that's the graphite stick. Next door to it we've got the humble pencil, which you'll be obviously very familiar with. It's exactly the same stuff, only it's encased in a wooden cylinder. Very easy to hold. Again, I've got a 2B pencil, which is kind of the go-to artist pencil. Most people start using the 2B, and again, you know, you can build up areas of tone. And the 4B next door to it, let's move that out of the way. Again, slightly softer, so you'll get a broader, thicker and darker line. And then we've got a 6B there, and again, you know, darker, thicker, softer. Okay, so that's our graphite. So we've got charcoal and graphite. As with the charcoal, there is also graphite powder, which again, similar to the charcoal, it's just graphite that's been milled down to a very fine powder. And again, you would apply that with a brush, so you get a nice sort of even mid-tone. You can take it over drawings, you can use it as a ground for drawings. So again, lovely, very useful stuff, and we'll be using that over the course of the sessions as we get into the drawing. I've also laid out here some pens and ink. Again, very useful for line work. Lots of illustrators tend to use fine liner pens. Just very, very useful, particularly for use over watercolour. Actually, if you're doing buildings, you might want to put a watercolour wash down, and then when the watercolour is completely dry, you would go over to define the linear work with the fine liner pen. And equally, this is just a common Bic, black Bic pen, lovely to draw with. You kind of have to be a little bit more confident to draw with a pen, because obviously you don't rub out the lines as easily with an ordinary pen. But as you can see, you know, you can cross hatch, you can still build up lots of tone, and you know, there is actually a whole community of people who draw exclusively with Bic pens. And you know, there's actually a Bic have recently launched a a drawing competition using just Bic pens. So they're really common and useful to draw with. And last but not least, I've got some Indian ink here, which again is a lovely medium to draw with, which can be applied with a brush to get different effects. Obviously depends what sort of brush you use. I've just got a medium sized round brush there. Okay, show you the sort of marks that can be made, or you can just find a twig from the garden, and again that will make a different type of mark, just dipped in the ink. Really, really nice for doing branches on trees, ironically, as this has come from a tree. But as you can see, it works really nicely, and you can get very, very fine, wispy lines, so you can, you know, use that to depict all sorts of things. Very nice for scenery, if you're doing, you know, trees in the distance, in the foreground. I'm just using the other end of this twig because it's slightly thicker, so you can just have a play around really and see what kind of marks you can make with that. Okay, so right, so that's our principal drawing implements. Over here we've got two types of eraser. Erasers usually will be for, surprise surprise, erasing unwanted marks, but they're actually incredibly useful drawing tools. You've got your common one over here. This is just an ordinary plastic eraser, but if you take it through an area of tone like that, you can see, I don't know if you can see very well, but it will lift out areas of tone. So if you're, you know, you're doing a very contrasting still life or portrait, you know, you've got strong light coming in from the window, you can use this to lift out areas of tone. And likewise, less familiar to most people, this is called a putty rubber or a putty eraser. Lovely implement because it can actually, or a kneadable eraser is the other description. You can actually knead it down to all different shapes. So as you can see there, I've got that down to a fine point. So if I just run it through that area of charcoal there, you can see it's lifting out the tone. So, you know, you can stipple with it, you can do get all sorts of different effects depending on what you're drawing really. Okay, and then we come on to our blending stumps. Again, very, very useful tool. These are just paper, compacted paper, sort of fashioned into with a point, and again, as the name would suggest, very useful for blending areas of tone. So if you wanted to make a sharp line recede and look more kind of fuzzy and in the background, you might take one of these. That was just blending over the graphite marks that I made there, and again it can be used over charcoal as well to blend, and again they tend to come in different sizes. So, you know, if you've got fine work, you know, where you just want to blend very gently into a very small area, you can use the finer one. Okay, so that's a brief introduction into some of the materials that we're going to be using on the course. The next demonstration I'll be using these again to show you how to kind of warm up for drawing. A very useful exercise. But if you've got any questions at all that you want to ask, or any points that you want to raise or add to this, do just throw in a comment or send me a private message. Yeah, so I hope that was useful, and I will see you again soon.